course, the man that currently holds that record is this man, Gary Beck, at 5.391 seconds ET. Now, in round 2, Gary Beck faces Frank Bradley.
This is Frank Bradley, Paul, pulling through the water to accomplish the tire smoking burnout. It's a crowd pleaser to be sure, but it's also part of the performance. The idea is to heat up the tire and lay down some hot, sticky rubber. The crew's always careful to bring the driver right back in his tracks. Bradley, for obvious reasons, nicknamed the Beard. He's from Napa, California.
Gary Beck, the reigning world champion, has 172 runs in less than 6 seconds. He leads in that category. When the day is done, that number 1 comes off his machine as he gives up the world title.
Certainly nobody likes to lose any one of these world championships, but Joe's had a tremendous year. We did manage to win 3 races. Generally, that's good enough to win a title, but he did so well and won 3 himself and set the record and did so well at all the others. I mean, he deserves to be world champion. He had a great race team. But we'll go after him again next year.
So Gary Beck wants to still prove that he has that world champion stuff. He would love to have a victory here today in the World Finals. There's Gary Beck in the near lane, Frank Bradley in the far lane.
So many fans, Paul, just expect Gary Beck to be the number 1 qualifier. Not this weekend. He's number 3. Frank Bradley in the number 7 spot. Just 1 qualifying run for Bradley. Look at Beck. He has gone like a rocket. The instant advantage goes to Gary Beck. He defeats Frank Bradley in round 2.
Gary Beck wanders just a bit off the line, comes across with a 5.63, 248 miles an hour. Now, he is the reigning world champion. He took the title away from SHIRLEY, 3-time world champion, who at the Grand Nationals at San Aaron, Canada, suffered a terrible accident. We ask her son, John, how is she now?
She's doing good. She's in great spirits, and she's started to answer all of her cards that have come in from friends and fans throughout the whole country, and she sounds good, you know.
And don't be surprised, Paul, if Shirley Muldowney doesn't give the keys to the family top fuel dragster to that young man, son John. Here is the world's fastest driver, Joe Amato. And speed, Paul, in the first round may have caused Amato some problems. He ran 262 miles an hour, but hurt the engine, and the businessman from Pennsylvania has had to install a spare power plant.
He faces the world's largest potato farmer, Larry Minor, who owns the Pomona track record at 5.40. Amato in the near lane, Minor in the far lane. They both inch up. Bit of psychology played here. Who can out-psych the other as they come to the line? Amato spins the tires just a bit on the start, fights for control, and Minor comes across. Minor at a 5.56, 239 miles an hour. Joe Amato, the world champion, is out.
And, Paul, Amato is in trouble instantly. Now, watch the rear tires. As soon as you see a little bit of smoke, that means he's lost traction. The driver feels that and gets off the throttle. As he gets off the throttle, Larry Minor just streaks away from him.
Looking at it again. Now watch Amato's engine. There's a puff of smoke as the pistons begin to burn. The engine is going away. Larry Minor comes on to the win. Let's go to the shutdown area now, and Steve.
It can get mighty lonely down here when you lose a race, can't it, Joe?
Yeah, it's the way it is, Steve. It's tough when you lose, you know. It's hard on the crew and all. But he ran better than us. The car shook, and it just didn't do what it was supposed to do, and that's racing.
You know, you told us earlier you were going to try to set the record to prove to the Southern California fans what a Joe Amato was really capable of. Did you maybe overpower the racetrack trying to go for that record?
No, we had to change the motors. We had something happen to that motor, a minor thing, but it caused the cam to get grooved up, so we had to put a different motor in, and it was a little different combination, so it kind of threw us off track a little bit.
So Joe Amato, the world champion, is out in the early going in front of a record crowd of over 30,000 people. We'll be back. Drag racing, and to show you just how much this crowd here at the LA County Fairgrounds appreciated this man, here is Big Daddy on the return road as he came down at the conclusion of the first round. A standing ovation.
And, Paul, we'll be seeing Big Daddy Don Garlits in second round action right after this race. In the far lane is Denver Schutz from Fresno, California. Fans who drop by the Schutz trailer of the pits get a big handful of raisins because he's a raisin rancher.
And he will face Shannon Stuart, who is just up I-10 in Riverside, California, in what is his best performance in his 3 years in drag racing.
Paul, this was Shannon Stuart in the near lane in qualifying, and I'm sure at this very moment he doubted if he'd ever even see the day of eliminations. Look at this, a moonshot. The white car in the near lane, a little light on the front end, got too much traction. Shannon tried to feather it down, but bent the front end up badly. Crew has done a good job of getting this car back into action, and he was victorious in round one.
Out came the hammers and wrenches, got the front end of the machine put back together, and he is on the line now.
Denver Schutz has far more driving experience than Shannon Stuart. In fact, he was one of the first drivers in the sport to break into the 5-second elapsed time zone. Shannon Stuart has only been racing 3 years, but has been quite a surprise here this weekend.
Stuart launches hard, weaves just a bit, maintains his lead, and it's Stuart. Cross the line with a 5.69, 250 miles an hour. So inexperience pays off as Stuart moves up to the next round. And the crowd begins now to go nuts. Here he is. The expression here at Pomona is Big is back. There he is. Big Daddy Don Garlits completes his burnout, and they are loving it here today. He faces Gary Ormsby.
Now, Gary Ormsby, a very worthy opponent, Paul. Ormsby won the Winternationals, the opening race of the season, right here at the fairgrounds. An automobile dealer from Sacramento, California, and a fine race car driver.
Of course, Ormsby faces the challenge from the formidable Don Garlits, who has been winning for over 2 decades.
This car of mine, oh, when I got her now, she was new, old and broke now. This car of mine, there's been a lot of races we've been through. No slow folk now, I never want to fight with her, you see. This little car means a heck of a lot to me. This car of mine, this car of mine.
Big Daddy comes to Pomona with a record of over 23 Nationals titles. Big Daddy, Don Garlits, the name that really means drag racing in the United States, disappeared for a while. Now you're back with a vengeance. Why?
Well, you know, I took a few years off putting my museum together. I built a museum for the sport, drag racing. And, you know, it took about 4 years out of my life. My wife and I worked real hard on that thing, spent a lot of money on it, and you just can't do 2 things at once.
You, A.J. Foyt, you guys are too old to be doing this, aren't you?
That's what they keep telling me.
When you first started in the sport, did you have any idea you'd be seeing 260s and full fields in the 5s?
Of course not. You know, we run 85 miles an hour, 20 seconds in the quarter, and we were just having fun, just a bunch of kids, you know. I never dreamed the sport would become what it has.
If you dream a little bit now, what will the sport become? Do you have any idea?
Well, I guess it's going to get lots bigger, that's for sure, and we're going to go lots faster.
And you can bet if they go faster, Big Daddy at age 52 will be right there with them. Garlits the near lane, Ormsby the far lane. Garlits on the line. It's a close race. Garlits drifts toward the center line. Continues to accelerate. Garlits a 5.55, 260.
Well, Big Daddy knew Gary Ormsby was there all but that last 100 feet of the racetrack. Ormsby in it all the way. No one has the Garlits touch. He is at one with this machine. The perfect balance between clutch and throttle. The front wheels just dancing on the pavement.
The dragster stresses as he comes from the line. Here's where Big Daddy won it, pulling toward the line as he runs through the traps.
Well, Don, you must like those 260-mile-an-hour times, because there's another one for you at about a 5.51.
Great. Now, you need them out here. These guys are tough.
You know, you had never run 260 really at the U.S. Nationals. Is it do you feel that in the seat of your pants? Can you tell that kind of mile an hour?
Yes, sir, you sure can. It is a ride down there. I mean, those traps go bip, bip, bip.
And from the first bip to the last bip is 132 feet. Well, the semifinal rounds are coming up. Gary Beck will face his car owner, Larry Miner, and Don Garlits will face Shannon Stuart.